Welcome into the Cowboys Report, presented today by Manscaped. If you've got bush, then you are not using Manscaped's products, and it's time to get that changed. Head over to manscaped.com and use promo code COWBOYS for 20% off and free shipping on all of their top-of-the-line men's grooming products. Today is July 11th, which means it is 7-Eleven Day, and we're not talking about the free Slurpee. We're talking about Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons. So show them some love, perhaps the best young defensive duo in the entire NFL, in the comments section by typing in 7-Eleven right now. We'll also talk about Dak Prescott on today's show. ESPN, as part of their positional rankings based on alleged coaches and executives, they put out their top 10 rankings at the quarterback position. Dak Prescott once again making that list. He checked in at number 10. Here's the entirety of that top 10 list. Aaron Rodgers at number 1, the reigning NFL MVP. Patrick Mahomes at 2. Josh Allen at number 3, Tom Brady at number 4, and this is where things might get maybe a little bit more controversial. Joe Burrow at 5, Matthew Stafford at 6, Justin Herbert at number 7, Russell Wilson at number 8, Deshaun Watson at number 9, Dak Prescott checks in at number 10. I will make note that Dak actually slid a few spots down due to the rise of Burrow, Herbert, and Deshaun Watson once again returning to the list. He was not on it last year because of, all of the allegations against him. ESPN, maybe most interestingly, did not have Lamar Jackson in this top 10. Dak narrowly beat him out. Derek Carr, Kyler Murray also made the honorable mention list. Also worth noting, only 14 quarterbacks in total even got votes. Kirk Cousins was the other one. Lamar, Murray, Cousins, and the rest of the top 10 plus Derek Carr were the only ones getting votes. Dak did slide down a little bit in the rankings. I am of the mindset that tiering is the proper way to go, and if you have a top 10 quarterback, you should probably feel pretty good about that particular quarterback. We'll spend some more time on the Dak part of the conversation because I know how it always ends up going. So I want you guys to rank Dak Prescott among NFL quarterbacks. Is he 1? The answer is no. Is he 5? Is he 10? Is he lower than that? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get the ad break here on YouTube, it's actually perfect timing. Head down there and let me know where you think Dak Prescott ranks among all NFL QBs. I'm of the mindset that anywhere between 5 on the absolute highest end and 11 is pretty fair. I'm not going to rank Dak over a Brady, an Allen, a Mahomes, or Rodgers. That just seems just not very realistic there. And then in that second grouping of quarterbacks, you've got your franchise guys. You've got your Deshaun Watsons, who has still done nothing in the NFL. NFL emphasis that Dak Prescott hasn't done, but, whatever. Then I think Lamar Jackson's in that tier as well. So whether it's 7, 8, 9, 11, I think that's all fair for Dak Prescott and is a quarterback you should feel happy about having, especially when you look around the rest of the NFC East. Here's what one alleged NFC executive said on Dak Prescott. He's a good but not great quarterback. He has to play well in the playoffs, has to prove he can take them to the next level. He's not in the top echelon. Depending on what we mean by echelon, if we mean that top 4, I agree. And I think in particular, it's the wins in the playoffs that haven't quite been there as of late. And he's coming off, by the way, his worst playoff game ever, as far as I'm concerned, against the 49ers. Terrible timing for that one. His playoff stats in those 4 games, 61%, over 1,000 yards in terms of passing. He's got 72 on the ground, 10 total touchdowns. 3 of those are rushing, 4 turnovers. There's a fumble in there. It's not as good as his regular season numbers, but it's also not, Ryan Tannehill bad either. Here was part of the ESPN write-up on the Dak Prescott ranking. His resume speaks to that, referring to the NFC East executive. Very good, but not great. Prescott the 4th most pass touchdowns, 37 in 2021. He ranked 4th in the NFL in completion percentage at 68.8% and QBR from inside the pocket, 65.5. Numbers that showcase the ability to work through progressions. And he's 53 and 32 as a starter since entering the league in 2016. The funny part of that quote to me, that's the proper syntax, is all of those numbers are top 4 or top 5, which would be reflective of great and not good, but I do think that's depending how we're differentiating great, if we're only including the Rodgers, Mahomes, etc. in the great tier, Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And in a wins-based business, even though quarterback wins are stupid, you do need to see more playoff results. Had Dak won a playoff game last year, had the Cowboys won a playoff game last year, I think you'd see him a little bit higher on that ESPN list. But 10? Yeah, I'm not going to complain too much about that one. Now, today's show is presented by Manscaped, and if you don't want your girl complaining in the bedroom, make sure you're using Manscaped's products. 20% off and free shipping on everything that they have, from the Lawnmower 4.0 to the Performance Package, the Premium Package, all of it. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com when you use promo code Cowboys. That link is going to be in the comments section and in the description. It also applies, by the way, to the Platinum Package. You can get everything you see on screen at a 52% discount for $123.99 when you use promo code Cowboys at manscaped.com. Check the comments section and the description. That link is in there for today's show. Let's move to trade rumors now around the Dallas Cowboys. Heavy.com normally has some bad ones. This one I thought was at least somewhat intriguing. The Steelers get Sean McKeon, the tight end, and the Cowboys get wide receiver Miles Boykin. So we'll break down the pros and cons of this trade in a minute, but I do want to hear from you guys first. Would you do this trade? You move on from Sean McKeon, you get a veteran wide receiver in Miles Boykin. Type in T for trade or type in P for pass. Let's look at Boykin to begin here, and the number one issue you run into is contract. Boykin is due $2.54 million this year, which is a lot to pay for a slight Noah Brown upgrade, equal level player. Boykin did not play much at all last year. He does offer significant special teams value, which puts him in the Noah Brown tier. Although in 2020, Boykin was more productive in that year than pretty much all of Noah Brown's career. So if you want someone who could maybe handle wide receiver 4/5, be a special teamer, and upgrade over Noah Brown for a little bit more money, Boykin could actually start to make sense at that perspective. The cost of giving him up in this hypothetical trade idea is a reserve tight end in Sean McKeon. Now, I don't know if the Steelers actually need him. They've got 3 draft picks at tight end, so not sure the numbers game works out quite that well. And I know there are some in the Cowboys org who are high on Sean McKeon. He's also in line to be, by the end of the year, tight end 3 and maybe tight end 2 if you let Schultz go next offseason. He is cheap. He's also not done much of anything so far in his NFL career. Very limited production at this particular standpoint. So if you are desperate for wide receiver help and you think Miles Boykin can be that guy because you just don't believe in 85 Hive anymore in Noah Brown, I get it. It's not the worst trade offer, but I don't think it's quite good enough for either side. Now, if you are part of the Noti gang here at the Cowboys Report, meaning your notifications are set to all, and only about 20% of you have that actually set up, show it by typing me right now in the comments section. I'll give you guys some love if you're part of the Noti gang here at the Cowboys Report. 2 more trade targets, both from the Houston Texans, Chris Conley and Chris Moore. These 2 names floated out by Bobby Belt and Brian Broaddus on their Love of the Star podcast, and I actually think they're onto something here in terms of what could potentially fit the Cowboys, who I still believe are open to adding wide receiver help. The Texans have some depth at the wide receiver position. Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, John Mechie aren't going anywhere. The Killer Bees, as I'll call them, thought Philip Dorsett was receiver 4. They will only carry 5 receivers, meaning one of Conley or more would be on the outs. Conley's production has been more impressive of the 2 Chris's. Now, he's bounced around the NFL, Jacksonville, Houston, KC. The numbers have gone down each year since 2019, but he could be an option for you as a, in theory, slight upgrade over James Washington. At least that's the hope if you were to go out and acquire another receiver via trade. I think both these guys would be very cheap additions. You're talking conditional late 7th round pick. Chris Moore kind of falls more into the Miles Boykin category of there has been some production, and he'd be an upgrade hypothetically again over Noah Brown, where there's a lot of special teams contributions from Moore, although the actual receiver production hasn't been that great. So pick a receiver for me. Would you rather have Chris Conley, the better actual receiver, or would you rather have Chris Moore, who might offer you more value from John Fossil's perspective? Let me know in the comments section. It's CC for Chris Moore, CC for Chris Conley, CM for Chris Moore. I actually lean towards Moore, although I don't think he's anything special. But he plays a key role on special teams everywhere he's gone. His snap counts against the percentage, which is relative to games played. That's why the numbers and the percentages look a little bit different there. He's always been a core special teamer, even a little bit more so than Noah Brown was this past year for the Cowboys. And very important to remember this. If you're adding a wide receiver, and with Gallup coming back at some point early on this season, and Tolbert being in theory a key part of your team, you're going to be wide receiver 4 or 5, hypothetically, by the back end of the campaign. If you are not contributing on special teams, not many NFL teams have a role for you, especially when you're already 29 years old. So because of that, I actually lean towards Moore over Chris Conley in the event you get to camp and, Sima Fehoko and Noah Brown and TJ Vasher and those other UDFAs are not producing the way you would like them to.